Thank you, Madam Chair, for holding this important hearing today and to examine FAA's implementation of the Aircraft Certification, Safety, and Accountability Act. I hope that today's hearing will provide a thorough understanding of FAA's progress in implementing this important legislation, as well as any opportunities to build on that progress in the upcoming FAA reauthorization. The centralization of the Organization Designation Authorization Office created by the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2018 and improved under the Aircraft Certification, Safety, and Accountability Act was crucial to improving the consistency of manufacturer oversight nationwide. Unfortunately, the FAA is nearly 2 years behind schedule in forming an expert review panel to examine ODA holders and provide recommendations as required by the certification bill. Separate ODA expert review panel was also convened in 2021 pursuant to a requirement from the 2018 FAA reauthorization. So, Mr. Nolen, could you describe for us how the FAA will ensure the new panel's work is complementary to the recommendations of the previous expert panel? And from your perspective, how can the agency improve the strong oversight of ODA holders while ensuring benefits of the program remain intact?
Well, thank you, Senator Thune, for the question. We've done a lot of work in the ODA area. Number one, we were working last year to get that office up in staff. I can remember that certainly our teams came and gave your staff work where we were in the teens and the 20s on the numbers. We're now full. We had a full complement of 50 personnel in that office to address across the competencies. We are taking the work of the 103 expert review panel, so that's another part of the work. That team, that group of industry experts, along with the agency, just on the 1st and 2nd of this month, so we're taking the learnings from that. They've got 270 days to deliver their report, and we continue to work on everything around the ODA to make sure we've communicated policy out there about non-interference with unit members. We also are working to ensure that that level of oversight by our unit members, but also by our leaders in the field, principally at Boeing, but elsewhere as well, that it is there in a sense that it's working well. Now, I will tell you, I've done visits to Seattle, I've done visits to South Carolina, I've visited Airbus, I've visited Embraer, and so that's part of my first and foremost answer that I ask our team. How are you doing? Are you seeing any interference, and are you getting the right amount of transparency that you need from the OEM? And overwhelmingly, the answer to that has been yes. Doesn't mean we're claiming victory, but we certainly made a lot of progress in this regard.
As I mentioned at the hearing last week on February 8th, Senator Warner and I introduced the Increasing Competitiveness for American Drones Act, which directs FAA to establish a regulatory framework for beyond visual line of sight UAS operations. I believe that a clear framework for such operations is critical to the safety and efficiency of the NAS. And I intend to work with the Chair and Ranking Member to integrate this legislation into any FAA reauthorization bill. So could you describe the FAA's current work to create a beyond visual line of sight regulatory framework and otherwise streamline the airworthiness approval process for UAS?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. We, as you're aware, we stood up a beyond BVLOS, Beyond Visual Line of Sight ARC, Aviation Rulemaking Committee. We put that out for public notice, and we've got quite a few comments in. We're in the process of adjudicating those, and then we'll work to get that into the NPRM. It is absolutely one of our highest priorities. We've also stood up an integrated team within the FAA. We have what we're calling I-team. So we're looking at UAS, we're looking at eVTOLs, we're looking at what will be required to operate in the NAS, we're looking at electrification. So we've got a very much of an integrated approach to this to ensure, and our goal, our top priority is to ensure that we can enable this technology and do it as timely as we can, consistent with ensuring that we've met our safety mission.
So in drafting the bill, Senator Warner and I worked to address the concerns of incumbent users of the NAS, especially those operating at lower altitudes. And by that, I'm referring to helicopters and agricultural aviation. That said, more work will need to be done at the agency to ensure the safe coexistence of UAS with these stakeholders. So how will the FAA work to ensure the safe coexistence of nascent, beyond visual line of sight operations with some of those incumbent users at lower altitudes?
Well, that's exactly the body of work that we're taking on, sir, with our group about one of the projects we've got. It's called Innovate 28, and we're working with NASA, we're working with MITRE, we're working internally with the department as well to ensure that we've very much got a coordinated, integrated approach to this to ensure that we can accommodate all users of the NAS.
And are you incorporating in the concerns of these stakeholders to make sure that they're addressed?
Yes, sir, we are.
My time's expired. Thank you, Madam Chair.